With thousands of Californians living in vehicles, lawsuit aims to stop cities from towing their homes. Sean Coyote says he watched his whole world roll away from him at 3 in the morning. Coyote had been, I wonder if, that's probably not how he pronounces it, right? What, you guys think Coyote? KO'd. We'll go with KO'd. KO'd had been living in his car in San Francisco about 2 years. During the early morning on March 5th, traffic police towed and impounded his black 2005 Mercedes-Benz for having too many overdue parking tickets. I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and there was a guy behind me, and I'm like, what are you doing behind my car? He says, I'm just waiting for the tow truck to come get you. For KO'd, who now lives at next door, his car wasn't just a place to sleep, it was how he earned his living. He delivered food through Uber Eats. I'm a homeless guy that worked my way out of homelessness. I bought my own car. Now you've taken my car, taken my job, and now giving me food stamps. It doesn't make sense. An estimated 500,000 cars a year in California are impounded, unclaimed, and sold, according to Jude Pound of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights in San Francisco. He said many of those cars belong to poor people living in them. Pond helped follow a lawsuit on Coyote's behalf to challenge the California law that allows cities to tow a car away if that car has 5 or more overdue parking tickets. Many cities follow that policy, and Pond said it's unconstitutional in several ways. The government should not be allowed to take someone's property without any notice and without a warrant, he said. That's doubly true because these vehicles weren't used in a crime. Cities do not issue warnings outside of the fine print on a parking ticket that they're coming to impound a vehicle. In San Francisco, officers towing a car with a homeless occupant will contact the police department and social services to help that person get services. There will be times when the homeless outreach team will not be available to respond. If there is no urgency regarding the towing of the vehicle, we will make an effort to delay the tow to allow services to respond. Okay? Tens of thousands of Californians are living in their cars. This should be the headline. And they're working. That should be the subheadline. And I'm not saying that to bash the article. It's a good article. The headline's fine. I'm just saying, principle's sake, this is the headline right here. Tens of thousands of Californians are living in their cars. And the subheadline should be, most of them are working. Because losing those cars to impoundment can mean the loss of work and home. It can be a tipping point into a life on the streets. Well, I hope this lawsuit is successful. I do think this lawsuit is, I hope this lawsuit is successful. I hope that, I don't think you should be able to tow somebody's car for overdue parking tickets. Whew, tens of thousands. Yeah, living in your car is not fun. I've done it. It's not fun. And I'll be honest, when I did it, I usually had a place to crash. Almost all the time. I was pretty lucky in that regard. But not everybody is. Not everybody is. And it's so interesting that you see these so-called progressive utopias that really demonize the poor and just kind of dress it up and skate around it. San Francisco's guilty of this. Seattle's guilty of this. Portland's guilty of this. Los Angeles is guilty of this. All cities are guilty of this. I'm just singling out the ones I mentioned because we're told that these are the supposed progressive utopias. Meanwhile, really, there's a lot of just subtle ways to demonize poor people and the homeless. This is another example of that. Oh, you have unpaid parking tickets. What can we do? We can't have... You have to pay your parking tickets. You can't park illegally. I'm sorry, we got to tow your car. No, really, this is about people living in their cars that are trying to get a break, trying to get a leg up, and you're going to take their car. They committed no crime, you have no warrant, and it is their personal property. And these are people that aren't able to pay their parking tickets. They don't have the resources to pay their parking tickets. So instead of consulting with them, getting them on a payment plan. Hey, they're working. They're trying to work their way out of homelessness. Give them a grace period. Give them a payment plan. Allow them to do service instead. Why not do that? Hey, you're falling on rough times. That really sucks. you're trying to work your way out of homelessness, that really sucks too. How about this? How about you give us a couple hours of service a week when you can, and that'll eliminate your parking ticket debt. Why not do that? I think people with limited resources and poor people and homeless people, and I think a lot of times it's easier to give a little bit of time than it is to give money. And I include myself in that. I mean, I know, especially, in my early days in comedy, when I was really living gig to gig, literally gig to gig. And I'm not, I had a lot of fun. I'm not trying to, I'm not asking for sympathy or anything like that at all. I'm just, saying I was living gig to gig. For me, it wasn't always easy for me to sign over a check for a noble cause. I didn't have a ton of money. Still don't. But back then I really didn't have much. But it wasn't as hard for me to donate my services and throw a benefit show for a cause that I believed in. That was something that was easier for me to do. So, when I was part of a crop share in Tennessee, there were some people, they didn't have a lot of money, but it was real important to them that they were able to have fresh crops straight from the farm. That was really important to them in their lives. So they would take the option of working at the farm for a few hours a week in exchange for their crop share. What I'm saying is there is value in that, and I think a lot of poor people and people that are struggling, it's easier to give time in most cases than it is to give money. And again, I include myself in that. I would say I still fall in that camp. I still, if there's a cause I'm all about, and there are many, it's easier for me. I'd rather have somebody be like, hey, Ron, can you give us X amount of money? Or somebody say, hey, Ron, would you be willing to do a benefit show? I would rather do the latter. I would rather give my time, and plus, not to mention, I feel like it would be a better result anyway. I feel like if I threw a benefit show for something, presumably we would raise more money than I'd be able to give. So, anyway, my point is, and I think I'm kind of getting rambly here, but the point is, why not have something like that? Why not allow them to do service instead of, instead of taking their car? But again, it's these subtle ways to demonize the poor. That's what's going on here.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your